Hamburg had a conflict that should have resulted in her dismissal as commissioner. She was on the Henry Schein board for 6 years. She came into FDA with this outrageous conflict of interest. Henry Schein is the largest seller of dental products in the country, the largest seller of Mercury amalgam in the country. She made millions of dollars just as a board member. Hamburg got through the revolving door. So she comes from Henry Schein, making her millions of dollars, comes in. They made her sign an ethics contract that said, I will not participate in any matter affecting Henry Schein as long as I own the stock or stock options. She'd signed the contract. She's approved at FDA. She's asked about the rule in the Senate confirmation. She should have said, I'm recused from that rule. Instead, she didn't. She went ahead and worked on the Henry Schein rule while she owned the stock options. So she was marketed without any of the Henry Schein stuff. You had to dig in the fine print, which Sylvia, my associate, did. And we got information together to challenge the whole situation, the Henry Schein situation. But after I wrote her June 1 and told her we have problems with this, all through June, she insisted the staff, several memos to the staff saying, I want to have a meeting on this rule. Her assistant sent out. On June 30th, she checked the price of her stock options the day before the meeting was scheduled. The meeting was July 1. So she checked the price of her stock options the day before the meeting that she knew was being held. July 1, she had the meeting to discuss the amalgam rule with Susan Runner and other top FDA staff and FDA lawyers, and clearly gave the green light to this scheme, this effort to say, let's cover up the Mercury. We continued to push the issue. She then, in mid-July, knowing the rule, and I had to be done July 28th, in mid-July, she said, okay, I'll recuse myself for ethical reasons. The rule was a fait accompli. She knew it. So she acknowledged she had an ethical problem, but she waited to get off. She didn't even recuse herself in writing. She and Josh Sharfstein, her right hand, her Sancho Panza, if you will not disclose how she recused herself, when she recused herself, whether she recused herself. We take their word for it. You understand a recusal is normally a written phenomenon. The judge says, I'm off this case. The commissioner says, I'm off this case. She never wrote down anything. She and Sharfstein just huddled and said, I guess you take over, but whatever they said, we have no idea. So Sharfstein was put in charge of the rule with about 2 weeks left, gave it the rubber stamp, or maybe didn't need to. Maybe Hamburg had already told him to give the rubber stamp. She's the boss. She then, having recused herself, immediately wrote Henry Schein's lawyer and said, I want to unrecuse myself. Will you take back the stock options? I want to get back in and regulate for you. I want to regulate for you. I want to end my recusal of anything affecting you so I can go back, take my stock options back. And the guy was happy to do it. Hamburg writes him the day the rule comes out and says, my friendships with Henry Schein people outlasts my recusal. My friendships outlast my recusals. That's her letter to the chief lawyer of Henry Schein. The guy writes back 2 days after the rule. The rule comes out July 28th. July 29th, Schein stock jumps $1.50. July 30th, the general counsel writes Margaret Hamburg, we are indebted to you for your work as commissioner. We are indebted to you. The lead lawyer of the regulator of virtually every product they sell says we are indebted to you. She's still the commissioner. In fact, it was covered up that her husband was an investment banker. He was called an expert on artificial intelligence. That's how he was. I thought he was a college professor. Instead, he's a $20 million a year man doing hedge funds. Peter Brown, her husband. She enlists him to defend this rule. He is actually, in August, the month after the rule issued, actually writing FDA lead people. They would write him back. He wrote the press chief, Hamburg Sharfstein, the press chief and the chief lawyer, and the guy that signed on to the rule, who's now head of the Center for Devices. He wrote them. They wrote him back. Some different ones wrote him back. The press guy was the only one smart enough not to write him back. But clearly they were going to defend this rule. And for him, that's a huge advantage. Peter Brown makes an 8-figure income. After this rule came out, he was promoted to co-president with his wife as the commissioner. The wife is the commissioner and regulates 25% of the U.S. economy. He is up there trading, hedge fund trading, which is all margins and all these little advantages that add up. He had an 8-figure income before he was co-president. The guy before him as co-president had a 10-figure. Do you understand? A $1 billion income. While America's collapsing, while houses are being foreclosed, while the economy's collapsing, he had a $1 billion income. Peter Brown's boss. Peter Brown now holds that chair. He's the co-president. But with his wife as the head of the FDA regulating 25% of the economy, he is in the catbird seat. Margaret Hamburg's family income has gone up substantially since she's been FDA commissioner because her husband is now co-president of this hedge fund, Renaissance Technologies. And her husband has participated in this process. She got past the revolving door prohibition of Obama, and they ignored the anti-mercury position of the president. Clearly, the president is against mercury. It is a story that when Eisenhower became president, Truman, on the way out, said, poor Ike, he says, he's been a general. He's going to be telling these people that work for him, do this and do that. He thinks something's going to happen. It's not. Nothing will happen. He'll tell them what to do, then there'll be nothing. And he doesn't understand. He won't understand how government doesn't work. And I just don't know how much of this you go back to the White House, because the president has these positions. He obviously can't manage the government. He puts people in to do that.